slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Brian Giles from Brian Giles MTG. And today, we actually got all sorts of different spoilers for Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth coming in June. So, let's jump into this. Oh, what happened here? Okay. So we left off yesterday with Gandalf the Grey. So our next card up is Frodo, Sauron's Bane. Now, in the actual video from today from Blake Rasmussen, he said that there will be various different versions of main characters, which we suspected. But it's going to be a lot like how it was in the Brothers' War, where you had young Urza and Mitra, you had middle-aged Urza and Mitra, and then you had the older versions of themselves. And eventually they're either completed or Planeswalker version. Well, starting off, we have Frodo, Sauron's Bane. A single white mana for a 1/2 halfling citizen. If Frodo, Sauron's Bane, for a hybrid, for 2 hybrid white or black, if Frodo, Sauron's Bane is a citizen, it becomes a halfling scout with base power and toughness of 2/3 and lifelink. Now that's pretty good. And then for 3 black, if Frodo is a scout, it becomes a halfling rogue with whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game if the ring has tempted you 4 or more times this game. Otherwise, the ring tempts you. That is some sort of mechanic that hasn't been explained yet and will be further explained when the full spoilers come out. So next up we have Samwise the Stouthearted. Now this card for an uncommon is incredibly powerful. At one white and 1, you get a 2/1 legendary halfling peasant with flash. When Samwise the Stouthearted enters the battlefield, choose up to 1 target permanent card in your graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn. Return it to your hand, then the ring tempts you. Again, more ring mechanics. But for a 1 white and 1, you get to return 1 permanent that's been put to the graveyard this turn, and because it has flash, you can play it just like an instant. That is incredibly powerful. So this card is going to see a lot of play. This card is now, using this card with blink mechanics like a teleportation circle is this card is gonna be busted. But it has to be a card that was put there from the graveyard this turn. But if somebody did a board wipe and you put out a teleportation circle and this, that could just be insanity. So next up, we have the Shire. I'm going to blow this up a bit so we can see better. Because the Shire enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Which is good. Tap it to add a green mana. Yes, yes. And then pay 1 green and 1 and tap it. And tap an untapped creature you control and create a food token. Well, hobbits and food, they go together. That's for sure. And here is an alternate version of this. Now I'll go back and for Frodo and Sam, they have alternate version. Now this version is the Mount Doom scene version that you can get in collector boosters and especially in the bundle pack. Now the four pictures that it represents complete a picture of what happens in Mount Doom. So that's an interesting flavor thing. This is what they call the ring border, and it is, it's the alternate art, and this one shows, when Frodo was hiding underneath the tree from the Nazgul, the Black Riders. So Samwise, this is the bundle picture version, and this is showing Samwise carrying Frodo up the slopes of Mount Doom. So I will try to remember having that. And Gandalf also has a ring border, and that is when he was falling off the bridge of Khazad-dûm, facing the Balrog. So next up we have Mount Doom. Now Mount Doom it's not part of any type of land cycle that was specifically said by Blake Rasmussen, but this is another one of these legendary locations that we're going to visit in this set, which I really like. Mount Doom is a legendary land. You tap it and pay a life to add a black or a red, or pay a black, red, and 1 and tap it and deals 1 damage to each opponent. Very on flavor. Or tap it, pay 1 red, 1 black, and 5 and tap it, sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact, and choose up to 2 creatures and destroy the rest. So that kind of represents how Mount Doom exploded after they threw the ring into the fires of Mount Doom. And this also gets around the fact that the One Ring is indestructible because you sacrifice it. So it's got kind of a built-in board wipe into it, which is interesting. That's a very interesting thing. And in a modern set, it's very, very on flavor. Very on flavor. Flavor is so key in this set, and they've done the flavor right, and I like that. So next up, we have a version of Gollum. Now, this is the uncommon version. Gollum, Patient Plotter. 1 black and 1 for a 3/1 Legendary creature halfling horror. When Gollum Patient Plotter leaves the battlefield, the ring tempts you. More of that ring mechanic we don't know much about yet. But pay a black and sacrifice a creature and return Gollum from your graveyard to your hand. Activate only as a sorcery. And that's, again, really on flavor because of how Gollum kept coming back, even though they thought him dead multiple different times. And here is his, this is a picture from the Mount Doom picture that you find in the bundles. And this is Gollum in his cave for the ring one, which is really nice because it's really, the evocative flavor of that. Now, this is You Cannot Pass. Now, a lot of people say, because a lot of people see that you shall not pass, but you cannot pass. Gandalf actually does say that. And he says that actually in the movie if you pay attention to it. So this is, what was said in the books. And they're really being very true to the books in a lot of this. And I am very pleased with that. But this is a very, very powerful uncommon card. At 1 white mana, it's an instant that says destroy target creature that was blocked, that blocked or was blocked by a legendary creature this turn. So, a white, a white removal spell at 1 white mana for blocking or blocked is not bad. So this is a very powerful card. Next up, we have Reprieve, which is another powerful white card. 1 white and 1 for an instant that reads, return target spell to its owner's hand and draw a card. It's like a white remand, some people have called it. I'm pleased with this. I like this a lot. So we are very happy with that. But next up, this card here makes me excited. I like this card. I like that they're including this card because while he seems like a minor character, even in the books, he is very, very important to the story as a whole. And Tom Bombadil was kind of a reflection of Tolkien as a writer. This was Tolkien's insertion of himself into the story. The ring does not affect him because he's the creator. So this is Tom Bombadil. For those of you that don't know this character, when the 4 hobbits went into the old forest to escape from the Black Riders, the Nazgul, they encountered this weird creature and his wife, who was a water sprite, which I hope they put her in there as well. And his name was Tom Bombadil, and his artwork shows that he has the yellow boots, the bright blue jacket, and the red cap, which is exactly as he is described in the book by Tolkien. For one color of every mana, he is a legendary god bard. And yes, that's very on flavor. He did a lot of singing. His songs brought life. He is a 4/4 creature, which is nothing to sneeze at. But his power, the text of his card, this is absolutely a powerful card. As long as there are 4 or more lore counters among sagas you control, Tom Bombadil has hexproof and indestructible. Whenever a final chapter of an ability of a saga you control resolves, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a saga card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This ability triggers only once each turn. I'm really hoping that we will see some sagas and that they will be kind of connected to the songs that are sung within the story. That would please me much. Because, in the movies, the songs were removed because they didn't add to the story, in terms of the story of what they wanted to present in the movie. But they were very important to the lore. And I'm sure lore heads like Mike Thatcher and the Magic Historian really would love this. Now this is his ring version, and as you can see, the ring doesn't affect Tom Bombadil. It has no bearing on him. So he would likely to have lost it. That's why they explained the fact that that Tom couldn't have kept the ring. But still, I like the inclusion of this, and that they did it right. So let's move on from that to the next couple of them are going to be a couple of the cards from the they got to be from the commander decks. Now this is Sam, Loyal Attendant. This is Sam the Cook. 1 green, 1 white, and 1 for a 2/4 legendary halfling peasant. And it partners with Frodo Adventurous Hobbit. So we're going to see the return of the partner mechanic. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a food token. And activated abilities of foods you control cost 1 less to activate. So Sam makes food, and food's less costly to activate. So that's very on flavor. Next up, we have Radagast, Wizard of the Wild. Now, Radagast really isn't mentioned a lot in the books but in the lore, and he was mentioned in the movies, so the inclusion of him is kind of good. But he's kind of really cool in and of himself, because he's 1 green, 1 blue, and 2 for a legendary avatar wizard that's a 3/5. He has Ward 1. Birds and beasts you control have Ward 1. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, choose one. Either create a 3/3 green beast creature token or create a 2/2 bird creature token with flying. So he's a friend to birds and beasts. He's a man of nature, or a wizard of nature. So I like that a lot. Very on flavor, on point. Makes me very pleased. His abilities match what's described of him as in the books and in the movies. Next up, this is the thing we need to talk about. Now, this video will probably run a bit longer than most. This is Sol Ring. Now, this thing can only be found in the collector boosters, and there are 3 rings for the Elven Kings under Sky, 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die. And that is the text that is written in the Elven script. So for the mortal men, there's 1 out of 900 of the foil collectors. There is 1 out of 700 for the foil collectors of the ones for the dwarves. And there's 1 out of 300 for the ones out of the elves. These are going to be chase cards because they are serialized. But not shown here is the One Ring. And I will go back. I don't know if they have posted that in the alternate art of the One Ring here. So this is the One Ring that is part of the Mount Doom scene that you find in the bundled one. No, they did not put it here. But the One Ring is the One Ring. It's not like this the rings given to the elves or the dwarves or the mortal men. This One Ring is the One Ring. And the serialized one, there is 1 of 1. There is 1 in existence. It comes only in collector packs, only in English collector packs. And yes, it might be in like the collector packs that are found in the gift edition. So we don't know who's getting. It's 1 only of this. This is the chasest of chase cards. As you can see, this particular one in the bundle scene is the only time, because it's in the Mount Doom scene, is the only time you see the the Elven script on the ring. So that's that. Now we have the return of box toppers. So there are going to be box toppers with the collectors. So you can get some box toppers. And starting off, we have the party tree. Now this is an important thing in the story of the Lord of the Rings, because the party tree is where Bilbo disappears. It was Bilbo's party, and it's this giant tree based on the acorn that Bilbo had brought back to his garden. So the party tree is a reskin of the Great Henge. And that is, a lot of people were clamoring for this to be reprinted. So it's 2 green and 7 for a legendary artifact. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Tap it to add 2 green mana and you gain 2 life. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card. So this is, this from Throne of Eldraine was, this is a nice include. We were hoping that this would be done. A lot of people were hoping that they would have, the party tree would be something like the Great Henge, but they did it as a reskin of the Great Henge, as the box topper. Next up is the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. This is the bridge that the party crossed, and where Gandalf faced off against the Balrog. So it's a reskin of Ensnaring Bridge for 3 colorless. It's an artifact. Creatures with power greater than the number of cards in your hand can't attack. So it's basically designed as Gandalf said, you cannot pass. So very on flavor. I like this. It really fits into the story. Next up, we have Valley of Gorogoroth. This is the valley that Frodo and Sam cross when coming out of Cirith Ungol to go down from the pass of Cirith Ungol to go towards Mount Doom. And they have to cross these wastes. And arguably so, it's a reskin of Wasteland, which is a land. You tap it to add a colorless mana, or tap it, sacrifice Valley of Gorogoroth, destroy target non-basic land. So, yes, very on point, on flavor, good artwork, showing Frodo and Sam making their way toward Mount Doom. That is very on flavor. And finally, for this, and there's going to be more box toppers, but these are just 4 that they've revealed to us. The Lorien Brooch, which are a reskin of Trailblazer's boots. It's 2 colors for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has non-basic land walk. Equipped for 2. Not exactly what I was expecting, but it does follow the fact of its Trailblazers boots. That it allows them to get across vast lands, and especially when they were traveling over Rohan, chasing after Merry and Pippin. Yeah, I think this is kind of going to be a useful thing, I think. And there's going to be a lot of different legendary lands we're going to see in this set. So I think it's going to be a useful item. Now, next up is a card that's caused a lot of controversy. And I personally am not, as much happy with it, but this is part of the starter decks. This is Aragorn and Arwen wed. For a green, a white, and 4, you get a 3/6 legendary human elf noble with vigilance. And if Aragorn and Arwen wed enters the battlefield or attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control, and you gain 1 life for each other creature you control. So it's designed to be part of a starter deck. I'm not as happy that the artwork they chose to have Aragorn as a black man. I mean, Aragorn wasn't really described as a dark skinned man in the books, but it's not like he was either. So it's just trying to be inclusive, and I don't think it's going to sit well with some people, at least about this. I think it can be overlooked. You look at the card, you look at what it does. I think you just need to overlook that. Next up, we have the other half of the starter deck in Sauron the Lidless Eye. Well, again, this will not be the only Sauron we will see. But it's a black, a red, and 3 for a 4/4 legendary avatar horror When Sauron the Lidless Eye enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature and opponent control until end of turn. It gains haste until end of turn. And for a black, a red, and 1, creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Each opponent loses 2 life. So, this is talking about Sauron having the eye upon you. And this particular depiction of Sauron, I don't know that, it shows him with the lidless eye, the eye in the center of his being and whatnot. It's very different than what we've seen before in terms of what's been described as of Sauron. But I guess, again, you're going to have to overlook the artwork and pay attention to basically the flavor of the card. It's good. It's on flavor. They're trying to have a unique depiction of that. They may not have been able to use the lidless eye because of the IP and whatnot. Sometimes these IPs are very, very restrictive, and I know that the Tolkien family is very restrictive about the usage of stuff. So sometimes liberties have to be taken. But that's all for now. We're at 31 minutes. It's a lot longer than most of my videos, but I wanted to put up all of these because this is absolutely some of the best stuff I've seen out of Magic lately. And there's a lot of exciting cards we've gone over today. So I'm going to say, hoo-ha, have a great day, eat your potatoes, boiled, mashed, or stick them in a stew. Hoo-ha.